When the world mocked their love. One act of honesty changed everything. People say love has rules. Rules about age. Rules about status. Rules about what is acceptable. But sometimes, life writes a story that breaks every rule we think we know. This is the story of Elena Duarte, an 82-year-old widow who had already buried the love of her life, and Leo Marquez, a 26-year-old delivery rider who was just trying to survive another difficult day. 50-6 years apart, different worlds, different generations, different dreams, yet somehow, their lives collided in a way no one could have predicted. And when their relationship finally became public, people didn't celebrate it. They laughed out, they judged, they accused. But what none of those critics knew was that their story had started with a test of honesty so powerful. It would change both of their lives forever. And the moment that truth came out, everything exploded. Elena Duarte lived in a quiet coastal town in Valverde Bay. Once, her home had been full of laughter. Her husband, Mateo, had built a small textile shop with her. Together they raised 4 children. But time has a way of rearranging everything. Mateo passed away 12 years earlier. Her children had moved to different cities. The house that once echoed with voices now echoed with silence. Every morning, Elena opened her shop alone. Every evening, she closed it alone. She had money, she had property, but what she no longer had was someone who cared if she came home. And deep inside, a painful thought kept whispering, maybe love only comes once in a lifetime, but one ordinary afternoon, a simple ride home would introduce her to someone who would challenge that belief forever. Leo Marquez was 26. He had left his rural hometown 5 years earlier with one goal: survive. School hadn't worked out for him. Jobs were scarce. So he bought an old second-hand scooter and started delivering groceries and packages across the city. Some days he barely earned enough for dinner, but Leo had something rare in a harsh world: integrity. His mother had always told him, if you lose money, you can earn it again. But if you lose your honesty, you lose yourself. One stormy evening, Elena requested a delivery ride home from her shop. Leo arrived. He noticed immediately that she walked slowly but proudly during the ride. They spoke casually about the weather, about the city, about nothing important. Yet something about her calm voice made the ride feel peaceful. When they arrived, Elena thanked him and rushed inside to escape the rain. Leo drove away, but 10 minutes later, he noticed something on the back seat, a leather bag. He pulled over, opened it, and his heart nearly stopped. Inside was cash. Stacks of it, more money than he had seen in his entire life. In that moment, Leo faced a choice that could change his future forever. Leo sat under a streetlight, staring at the bag. That money could pay his rent for years. He could buy a better motorcycle, maybe even start a small business. No one would know. No cameras. No witnesses. Just a bag and opportunity. His hands trembled. But then he remembered his mother's words, money can disappear, but your character stays with you. So Leo closed the bag and decided to return it. The next morning, Leo went to Elena's house, but she wasn't there. Her neighbor explained she had suddenly traveled to visit relatives in another province. Days passed, weeks passed. Leo kept the bag hidden safely in his small apartment. He never spent a single dollar. 3 months later, Elena finally returned. And when Leo knocked on her door, he had no idea that this moment would change both of their lives. Elena opened the door when she saw Leo holding the bag. Her eyes widened, her voice trembled. Where did you find this? Leo explained everything. The rain. The forgotten bag. The months he had waited. Elena slowly opened it. Every bill was still there. Nothing missing. Tears filled her eyes. Do you know how much money this is? She asked. Leo shrugged. I didn't count it. It wasn't mine. That was the moment Elena saw something rare. A man who valued honesty more than opportunity. And suddenly, her lonely world felt different. What she said next shocked Leo completely. A few days later, Elena invited Leo for tea. They talked for hours about life about struggles, about dreams for the first time in years. Elena laughed freely. Then she said something unexpected. Leo, you shouldn't be struggling on those streets. He looked confused. You deserve a better life, she offered him a job managing deliveries for her textile business. Leo hesitated, but he accepted. Weeks turned into months. Working together, they grew closer. Their conversations became longer, their laughter more natural. Until one evening, Elena spoke words that shocked him. I think I'm falling in love with you. Leo was stunned because secretly he felt the same, but the world around them was about to turn against them. When people discovered their relationship, the whispers began. She's old enough to be his great-grandmother. He's clearly after her money. This is embarrassing. Even Elena's children were furious. Her oldest son confronted her mother. This makes no sense. But Elena stood firm. I didn't choose Leo because he's young, she said calmly. I chose him because he's honest. Meanwhile, Leo faced ridicule from friends and strangers, but he told them, people judge what they don't understand. Then came the moment that would test their love more than anything else. One evening, Elena asked Leo a difficult question. If something happens to me one day, will you regret loving me? Leo looked at her quietly. Then he said, life isn't measured by years. It's measured by moments that matter. You gave me a chance when no one else believed in me, and I would choose that again. Every time. Elena smiled through tears. For the first time since losing her husband, she felt truly alive again. Their story didn't silence every critic. Some people still judged. Some still doubted. But the truth remained simple. Love isn't always convenient. It isn't always understood. And it certainly doesn't follow the rules society tries to impose. Sometimes love appears in unexpected places, between people the world would never imagine. And sometimes the strongest relationships begin with something very simple, integrity. Because in a world where many people chase money, the rarest treasure is still an honest heart. Real love is not defined by age, status, or public approval. It is built on trust, respect, and character. And when those things exist, even the loudest critics cannot break what two hearts have built. If this story touched you, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Have you ever judged someone too quickly or underestimated the power of kindness and honesty? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy powerful real-life inspired stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next unforgettable story. Because sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are true at heart. When 82-year-old Elena Duarte and 26-year-old Leo Marquez chose to love each other, they knew the world would judge them, but they didn't know how cruel those judgments could become. What began as whispers soon turned into accusations. And just when their relationship seems strong enough to survive anything, a shocking event threatened to tear their lives apart. Months passed. Leo began helping manage Elena's textile shop in Valverde Bay. The small business started improving. Customers noticed the change. Leo handled deliveries, suppliers, and repairs. Elena handled finances and design. Together, they made a perfect team, but not everyone was happy about it. Elena's children watched from a distance. Suspicious. Uncomfortable. Angry. One evening, her daughter Camila confronted her mother. How can you trust someone you've only known for a short time? Elena calmly replied, because he returned something that most people would have stolen. But Camila shook her head. Or maybe he returned it to gain something much bigger. The words lingered like poison in the air. That night, Elena began to wonder for the first time, what if the world was right about Leo? Soon the town began talking. Neighbors whispered when the couple walked together. Some laughed openly, others spread rumors that Leo was manipulating her. At the market, one man said loudly, give it a few years, he'll inherit everything. Leo heard it. His face hardened. But Elena gently touched his arm. Let them talk, she said softly. Truth does not shout. It simply waits. Still. The pressure kept growing. And then something happened that changed everything. One morning, Elena's bank called. A large sum of money. Lena rushed to the bank. The manager explained. That money had been transferred electronically 2 days earlier. To an unfamiliar account. Elena felt dizzy. Only 2 people knew about that account. Her and Leo. Suddenly the whispers in her mind grew louder. Her children's warnings echoed. Her hands trembled. Could it be possible? When she returned home, Leo was waiting. Smiling. Completely unaware. Elena looked at him differently. For the first time since they met, she felt doubt, and the question she asked next nearly destroyed everything. Elena, what's wrong? Leo asked. She hesitated, then forced the words out. Did you transfer money from my bank account? The room went silent. Leo stared at her in disbelief. What? Someone moved the money, she said quietly, and only 2 people had access. Leo's eyes filled with pain. You think I stole from you? Elena looked away. I don't know what to think. Those words cut deeper than any insult. Leo stepped back slowly. After everything they had been through, this was the moment he realized something heartbreaking. Sometimes love is not destroyed by enemies. Sometimes it is destroyed by doubt. But the truth behind the missing money was far more shocking than anyone imagined. 2 days later, the bank called again. They had discovered the real cause. The transfer had been made by one of Elena's former financial advisors, a man who had access to old authorization codes. He had been quietly stealing from several elderly clients. He was arrested. The money was recovered. Elena felt relief, but also crushing guilt. She had accused the one person who had proven his honesty from the very beginning. She rushed home to find Leo, but his room was empty. His bags were gone. And suddenly Elena realized something terrifying. She might have lost him forever. Days passed. Leo stopped answering calls. No one knew where he had gone. Elena searched the places he used to visit. The delivery stations, the cafe where he liked to drink tea. Nothing. Finally she found his friend Raphael, another writer. Where is Leo? She asked desperately. Raphael sighed. He left the city. Elena's heart dropped. He said, if the person who trusted him most could doubt him, then maybe he didn't belong here anymore. Tears rolled down Elena's face. But just when she thought everything was over, a letter arrived. The envelope was simple. Leo's handwriting covered the front. Elena's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short message. Elena, you once told me honesty is the foundation of love. I believe that with all my heart. But when trust breaks, love struggles to breathe. I don't blame you. The world filled your mind with doubts. I only hope one day you remember the man who returned your bag in the rain. Take care of yourself. Leo. Elena collapsed into her chair, crying. Because she knew something painful. The world had not destroyed their love. Fear had. That evening, Elena gathered her children. For the first time, she spoke with absolute strength. You all warned me about Leo, she said, but the truth is, he was the only person who never betrayed me. She looked at them one by one. You feared he wanted my money, but the truth is, he only wanted my trust. The room fell silent. Her children finally understood something important. They had judged a man not by his character, but by his age and his poverty. Narrator. Sometimes the greatest danger to love is not hatred. It is fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of being wrong. Fear of trusting someone completely. Elena learned to let that trust, once broken, is difficult to repair. But the story doesn't end here, because sometimes life offers one more chance to correct the mistakes we regret the most. And the question that remains is simple. Will Elena ever find Leo again before time runs out? Regret is a strange feeling. Sometimes it whispers quietly in the background of our lives. And sometimes it crashes into us like a storm we cannot escape. For Elena Duarte, regret had become her constant companion. The house that once felt peaceful now felt unbearably empty. because the one person who had brought warmth back into her life was gone. Leo had left the city, and with him, he took Elena's second chance at happiness. But Elena had decided something important. She would not let fear destroy the love she had finally found. No matter how long it took, she would find him. The next morning, Elena woke up earlier than usual. Her children noticed something different about her. For the first time in weeks, there was determination in her eyes. "I'm going to find him," she said firmly. Her daughter Camila looked surprised. "Mother, he could be anywhere." Elena nodded slowly. "Then I will search everywhere." Her children exchanged uneasy glances until finally her youngest son spoke. "Maybe we should help." It was the first time they had admitted something important. They had been wrong about Leo. And now they wanted to fix their mistake. But none of them knew where to begin until one small clue appeared. A clue that would send Elena on a journey she never expected. Later that afternoon, Elena visited the small cafe Leo used to like. The owner recognized her immediately. "You're looking for the young delivery rider, aren't you?" he asked. Elena nodded hopefully. The man thought for a moment. "He came here 2 weeks ago before leaving the city." "What did he say?" Elena asked quickly. "He mentioned something about returning to his hometown, a place called San Miguel Valley." Elena felt her heart race. Finally, a direction, a possibility, a chance. But San Miguel Valley was far away, almost 600 kilometers from the city. And Elena was 82 years old. The journey would be difficult. But Elena had already made her decision. 2 days later, Elena and her eldest son began the trip. The long drive felt endless. Mountains stretched across the horizon. Villages passed by slowly. During the journey, Elena stayed mostly quiet, lost in memories. She remembered the first time Leo returned her bag. The way he had refused even to count the money. The way his honesty had felt so rare in a complicated world. And then she remembered the moment she accused him. The pain in his eyes. That memory hurt the most. Her son finally spoke softly. "Mother, do you think he will forgive you?" Elena looked out the window. "I don't know." Then she whispered something honest. "But I must try." Hours later, they finally arrived in San Miguel Valley. But what they discovered there was completely unexpected. San Miguel Valley was small, quiet, simple, nothing like the busy city. When Elena asked about Leo, people quickly recognized the name. Yes, a farmer said, the young man who started repairing motorcycles. Elena felt hope rise again. They followed the directions to a small workshop near the edge of the village. And there he was. Leo, covered in grease, working on an old engine. For a moment, Elena simply watched him. He looked different, stronger somehow, but also lonelier. Finally, she stepped forward. "Leo." He froze. Slowly, he turned around. And when he saw her standing there, his face filled with shock. Neither of them spoke for several long seconds, because some moments are too powerful for words. Leo finally broke the silence. "You shouldn't have come here." Elena took a deep breath. "I had to." Leo shook his head. "Why?" His voice was calm. But Elena could hear the hurt hidden inside it. "I came to apologize," she said. Leo looked away. "I already forgave you. But forgiveness is not the same as trust," he added quietly. Those words pierced Elena's heart. She stepped closer. "You once told me honesty is the foundation of love." Leo nodded. Double quotes, yes. "And I broke that foundation." She admitted. Tears filled her eyes. "But I want to rebuild it." "If you'll allow me." Leo stayed silent. The village wind moved softly around them. For a moment it felt like, and then Leo asked a question that would decide everything. "Why?" he asked. Elena looked confused. "Why what?" "Why fight so hard to find me?" Leo said, "You have your family, your home, your life. Why come all this way for someone the world says doesn't belong with you?" Elena smiled gently. "Because the answer was simple. I didn't come because I need you," she said. "I came because my life is better with you in it." Leo looked at her carefully, searching for any sign of doubt. But this time, there was none. Still, Leo knew something important. Loving Elena again would mean facing the world's judgment once more. Leo walked outside the workshop. He looked at the mountains surrounding the valley. For weeks he had tried to build a new life here. A simple one, a safe one. But deep inside, he still missed her. Finally, he turned back to Elena. You know people will still talk, he said. They will always talk. She replied calmly. Leo laughed quietly. That part hasn't changed. Elena smiled. Some things never will. Then Leo asked the question that truly mattered. Are you strong enough to face that again? Elena answered without hesitation. Are you? Leo looked at her for a long moment, and then something unexpected happened. He smiled. Months later, Elena and Leo returned to Valverde Bay, but this time something had changed. They no longer tried to explain their love to everyone. They simply lived it. Leo expanded the textile business. Elena spent more time teaching young entrepreneurs. Together, they created something bigger than either of them expected. Not just a relationship, but a partnership. And slowly, the town began to understand something. Love does not need permission. It only needs to people brave enough to protect it. Life rarely gives us perfect love stories. Most of them are messy. Complicated. Full of mistakes. But the strongest relationships are not the ones without problems. They are the ones where people choose each other again and again. Even after everything goes wrong, Elena and Leo's story reminds us of something powerful. Trust can break. Fear can interfere. But when two people are willing to fight for honesty, forgiveness, and respect, love can still find its way back home. Regret has a strange way of visiting us. Sometimes it appears quietly in the middle of the night, when the world is silent and our thoughts become loud. Other times it follows us through the day, whispering reminders of words we wish we had never spoken. Asterisk for Elena Duarte. Regret had become her shadow. The house that once felt peaceful now felt painfully empty. The garden she once cared for every morning looked neglected. The chair where Leo used to sit remained untouched because the one person who had brought warmth back into her life was gone. And this time, she feared he might never come back. 3 weeks had passed since Leo left the city. 3 weeks since Elena had read the letter he left behind. Every day she reread those words. When trust breaks, love struggles to breathe. Those words cut deeper every time she remembered them. Elena sat in the living room staring at the letter again. Her daughter Camila watched quietly from the doorway. For the first time in years, Camila saw something unusual in her mother. Elena looked fragile. Not physically, but emotionally. Camila slowly walked in and sat beside her. Mother, she said gently, you've read that letter 100 times. Elena nodded. And every time I read it, I understand a little more. Camila sighed. We were trying to protect you. Elena looked at her daughter calmly. I know. Then she added softly, but sometimes protection becomes a prison. Camila lowered her eyes because deep down, she knew her mother was right. That same evening, Elena made a decision that surprised everyone in the house. At dinner, Elena's 4 children gathered around the table. Normally conversations were light, but tonight the room felt tense. Elena stood slowly and looked at them one by one. I'm leaving. Tomorrow, she said. Forks stopped moving. Leaving. Her oldest son Daniel asked, where? Elena took a deep breath. To find Leo. The table exploded with reactions. That's impossible, Camila said. He could be anywhere. Daniel shook his head. Mother, you're 82 years old? You shouldn't be traveling alone. But Elena's voice remained calm. 4 years I lived safely, she said. I followed every rule society expected from me. She paused, and yet I was still lonely. Her children fell silent. Then she continued. When Leo came into my life, something changed. For the first time since your father died, I felt alive again. She looked directly at them, and I destroyed that because I listened to fear. No one spoke. Finally, Daniel sighed. If you're going, I'm coming with you. Elena smiled faintly. Thank you. But the truth was, none of them knew where to start. Until a small detail from Leo's past suddenly became the first real clue. The next morning, Elena visited a place filled with Memories got a small cafe near the old market. Leo used to stop there after long delivery days. The owner, Miguel, recognized Elena immediately. "You're looking for the young rider," he said before she even spoke. Elena nodded hopefully. Miguel wiped a glass slowly. "He came here once after leaving the city." Elena's heart started beating faster. "When?" "About 2 weeks ago." "What did he say?" Elena asked urgently. Miguel thought for a moment. "He mentioned returning somewhere, a place he hadn't visited in years." Elena leaned forward. "Where?" Miguel finally answered. "A mountain town called San Miguel Valley." Daniel immediately pulled out his phone. "That's almost 600 kilometers away," he said. Elena felt hope rising inside her chest. For the first time since Leo left, there was direction, but the journey would not be easy, because Elena soon discovered that finding Leo would require more than just determination. 2 days later, Elena and Daniel began the journey. The highway stretched endlessly ahead. Fields turned into hills. Hills turned into mountains. During the drive, Elena remained mostly quiet. Daniel occasionally glanced at her. "Are you nervous?" he asked. Elena smiled slightly. "Yes, but not because of the trip." Daniel understood. "You're afraid he won't forgive you?" Elena looked out the window. "Yes." She paused before continuing. "But forgiveness isn't what I'm searching for." Daniel frowned. "Then what?" Elena whispered something honest. "I'm searching for the chance to earn his trust again." The car continued climbing through the mountains. And with every mile, the weight of Elena's regret grew heavier. But when they finally reached San Miguel Valley, what they discovered shocked them both. San Miguel Valley looked nothing like the busy city. Small houses lined dusty roads. Children played soccer in open fields. Farmers rode old trucks filled with produce. It was peaceful. Quiet. Simple. Daniel parked the car near a small grocery store. "Where do we start?" he asked. Elena approached the shopkeeper. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I'm looking for a young man named Leo Marquez." The shopkeeper immediately smiled. "Oh, the mechanic." Elena's heart skipped. "Yes. Do you know him?" The man pointed toward a dirt road. "Follow that road until you see a small garage near the river. He fixes motorcycles there." Daniel looked surprised. "He started a business." The shopkeeper laughed. "More like a small repair shop. But he's very good." Elena felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. They had finally found him, but now came the hardest part, facing him, because Elena had no idea how Leo would react when he saw her again. The garage was small, a wooden structure with a tin roof. Motorcycles were parked outside. The sound of tools echoed inside. Daniel stopped the car. Elena stared at the building. Her hands trembled slightly. "Do you want me to come with you?" Daniel asked. Elena shook her head. "No, this is something I must do myself." She slowly walked toward the garage. Each step felt heavier than the last. Inside, a man was working on an engine. His back faced the entrance. Grease covered his hands. For a moment, Elena simply watched him. He looked stronger, more confident, but also more distant. Finally, she spoke softly. "Leo." The sound of her voice froze him instantly. The wrench in his hand stopped moving. Slowly, he turned around. And when their eyes met again after weeks apart, time seemed to stop, because the expression on Leo's face was not what Elena expected. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was something far more complicated. Something that made Elena realize one painful truth. The hardest part of love is not finding it. It's repairing it once it's broken. The garage smelled of oil, dust, and metal. A warm wind moved slowly through the open doorway. For several seconds, neither Elena nor Leo spoke. They simply stared at each other. Weeks had passed since the last time they stood face to face, but the emotions between them felt just as strong and just as complicated. Leo finally wiped his hands on a cloth and stepped forward. His voice was calm, but distant. "Elena, What are you doing here? Elena felt her throat tighten. For days she had imagined this moment. She had rehearsed speeches in her mind, long explanations, heartfelt